In the previous video, we looked at the various different settings we could configure on the new Boundary client. Policy Commander has two ways of deploying the client, the first being the direct install and the second being the self-installing client file. So let's start with the direct install. To do this, I'm going to go to the Network tab and expand on Entire Network. As I'm working on a server that's using Active Directory, I will expand on the directory tree. Here you will see all the organizational units as they appear in your Active Directory. As you can see, I have already installed the client onto my domain controller. I know the client is installed because in the Members window it shows the domain controller with the status of Managed and the installation status of Install Succeeded. Now if I expand my Finance department and IT department, you can clearly see the difference between an installed client computer and a computer yet to receive the new Boundary client. If you're working in an environment without an Active Directory, you can install the clients by expanding on Workgroup. Now I'm going to install the client onto my VMXP1 computer. Right-click on the computer and select Manage Computer. This will bring up the Client Install wizard. You now have the option to install the client directly or later on using a subscription file. We also have the option here to customize the client settings. So if I want to have my client on a different polling setting than, say, other computers in my channel, I can set that here. For the advanced options, I can configure the default installation locations for the client, as well as configure what network shares to use. For the normal default installation, you will never need to change any of these settings. When selecting a direct install, the client computer will need to be rebooted. You can decide if you want to do the reboot at the time of the client installation, or by unchecking the tick box, wait for the computer to naturally reboot. I'm going to force the computer to reboot. So all I need to do now is to click the Install button to start the client installation. Please be aware that you can only install the client remotely if you are logged into the domain with an account that has administrative privileges. You can see in the status window that the client has successfully installed. The computer will reboot when you select Finish. If you get any errors in the status window during the direct client installation, go to the New Boundary Support website and search for the knowledge base article titled Errors During Direct Client Installation. You will find your solution here. The second method for installing the client is by generating a subscription file. The subscription file is a self-installing executable that contains all the client files and configuration settings required to successfully subscribe the computer to the Policy Commander channel server. As well as being able to install a client, we can also create a subscription file that uninstalls the new Boundary client from a previously subscribed computer. The client settings and options are exactly the same when configuring the subscription file as they are when you use the direct install or configure the channel server. When I press the OK button, this will generate the subscription file. Now all I need to do is save the subscription file on a network share that my client computers have access to. Now I have created a subscription file, I can install the client onto my second VMware computer. I have mentioned before that the subscription file can be deployed by using tools like Active Directory and Microsoft's PSExec, but for the purposes of this demo, I will manually execute the subscription file. The only indication that the client is installing is a little animation on the taskbar. No user interaction is required to install the client. In this video I've enabled a registry key that shows the new Boundary client icon on the taskbar, just so that you can see that the client is installed and running. Normally when you install a client there will be no icon visible on the taskbar. Now when I press F5 to refresh the console, you can now see that my VMXP2 workstation is successfully installed. If I now expand on my organizational groups, you can see that my client computers are in their appropriate organizational units, just like they're displayed in Active Directory. If you look at the status window for VMXP1, you can see that the status is unattended. This means that there is no user currently logged into this computer. Policy Commander console will display status changes in real time, so if I log into my VMXP1 computer, you will see the status in the console reflect that and change from unattended to attended.